everybody, welcome back to Hoffman Reproductions. Once again, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. Well, we have a beautiful spring day here in Central Ohio, and we have a new gun here to show you guys, something pretty cool. This is an English trade gun that I just completed as an order for a customer, and it's heading to Kentucky soon, so I thought we would do a video on it. You may or may not recognize this as the famous Bumford trade gun. Trade guns in the 18th century played a crucial role here in North America, mainly with American Indian tribes. Firearms were prized, and English and French trading companies needed something that was relatively inexpensive to produce and would gain them the most profit, and firearms such as this fit the bill nicely. This particular one, as I said, is known as the Bumford trade gun. The gentleman that is accredited with building the original one was named John Bumford. He was one of the gunsmiths that worked for one of the trading enterprises there in England during the mid-18th century. And the original one upon which this one was copied is housed in the Colonial Williamsburg Museum. And Clay Smith, the gunsmith that is set up there and operates in that area, actually went in and meticulously took that gun apart, measured it, and put together kits, and that is how I produced this one here. Several things that the original carried which are unique. Of course, you have very light, you notice the thin wrist, light, petite styling on this. This gun only weighs 6 3/4 pounds, so as opposed to a, say, Brown Bess musket of the time period, which is around 10.5, 11.5 pounds, very lightweight, easy to carry. This would be my choice if I had to choose between the two, very lightweight. The stocks on these were beech. Beech is an unimpressive wood when stained. It's kind of just a monotone color and grain, nothing really fancy. But it was a plain serviceable hardwood that fit the bill nicely for these, inexpensive, durable. You'll notice this one is painted. It is not stained. It is painted this deep red color, which I recreated with milk paint and varnish. And that is unique to this firearm. There are references to these guns being painted red, of course. There's also references to yellow and sky blue being used. American Indians of the time period appreciated and sought after things that were a little more on the fancy, so that's why I imagine these were painted, although not to say a colonist could not have had a painted trade gun. I'm sure some did, but not poorly made, just made cheaply. We've got sheet brass furniture, butt plate is nailed on, sheet brass, trigger guard, very thin. That's one reason we're able to keep the weight light. Thin ramrod thimbles and just a thin banded muzzle cap here, and designed to look fancy because there is engraving on this. I'll show it off later, and also you can see it, but there is stencil work on there. I'll show it off later. And all that has been done just to dress this gun up and make a essentially cheaply outfitted gun look fancy. So that was done during the time period. But a common gun for the 18th century, if you were to go into a merchant store, gunsmith shop, and say, I don't have a lot of money, but I need a serviceable firearm, this is most likely what they were going to pull down off of the rack. So a common man's gun for sure. There would have been a lot of these floating around in the 18th century. 46.25 barrel to match the original, octagonal to round, smooth bore, 58 caliber. So that's considered kind of small for a smooth bore, but a 58 caliber bullet packs a pretty good punch. And again, being smooth bore, you get the versatility of shot, solid shot, or a combination of both, making this a very versatile weapon in the forest. So again, I think about woodland engagements where American Indian forces went up against government troops, such as the Battle of the Monongahela or Bushy Run, and the government troops were outfitted with, it was a very serviceable but heavy-duty brown bess musket that weighed 10.5, 11 pounds, and the Indians were trolling around the forest with these, you know, 6 3/4 pounds. Yeah, I would have been choosing this. Very pleasant to carry in the woods, easy to shoulder and fire, and although not outfitted extremely elaborately, very well suited for its intended purpose, which was just to be able to shoot and fire. So that's kind of the rundown on this particular gun. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, but I'm going to get the camera spun around here and we'll see how this gun performs with some live fire on the range here behind us. So hold on a second, we'll get spun around. Alright, so we're set up here at the range. I have a paper target out here at about 25 yards, and we're going to go ahead and go through the loading motions. I'm going to pop in my modern earplugs, as these are loud. But I'm going to be shooting about 70 grains of our homemade powder, a .575 round ball, and a wad of tow top and bottom, the traditional wadding. Patches probably were used with smooth bores, but it's believed that wadding, such as tow, was probably more commonly used. Even green leaves, things that were easy to get and easy to obtain, would have been used. So we'll go ahead and go through the loading motions and get ready to go. A wad of tow on top of the powder, and I used to ram all this stuff down separate, but there's no real reason to do that. You can do it all in one motion, save yourself a little time. And another little wad of tow on top of the ball. Ramrod withdrawn, and down we go. Really good taps on the powder. I could get by with priming from the main horn, but I have my priming horn here, so I'll go ahead and use it. Earplugs in. And we'll see what we can do. Okay, I've got an X out there for a bullseye, and that's just right barely off of it, so shooting pretty good. We'll load up for another round. Alright, a few up close shots of the gun before we go. The whole thing is gently aged. May not be able to tell that in this light. Alright everybody, that's going to do it for now. Thank you once again for tuning in, and we'll see you on down the road here pretty soon. Bye now.